need a 30 for 30 to show that I'm different like Jordan and Pippen. I need a 30 for 30 like Jalen and Webber. Nobody gon' fuck on my click. I need a 30 for 30. T and all of 49ers Nation. That's my brother JoJo. That's that boy Stowe. That's that boy Clay. A lot of shots been fired at your boy Jerry Rice this year. And I'm not talking about shots for that damn Popeye's chicken commercial. He deserves some shots for that. I'm talking about it's a lot of cats coming at Jerry claiming that he ain't that boy. We talked off screen previously about Andre Rising. Andre Bad Moon Rising. But look at that man. Why you do that, man? That boy Andre Rising said in a Blad interview that he the GOAT and that Jerry was lucky to play with Joe Montana and Steve Young. But you know, a lot of folks felt like my brother Tim G. Jacob just did right there. Just kind of blew that off like, hey, Andre Bad Moon Rising, get on with it. But now one of them boys who last name is a verb now. That boy Randy Moss. That boy claimed he to go and it ain't close basically because he putting Jerry down at 3rd or 4th. He put T.O. behind him. See? What as a representative of 49ers Nation, where you stand on Randy's comment? Randy did play with y'all too. Is Randy in the cookout at the cookout for 49ers Nation? Randy, he did play for y'all.
Randy might not even get a DM to be there. Like he might not even get a Facebook invitation.
Right.
To the 49ers barbecue. Look, hey, it's simple. To me, it's simple, but it's complex because when you start throwing numbers into it and you start talking about who's the GOAT, I mean, criteria changes, right? Like some people look at LeBron as the GOAT for this reason, these reasons. Some people look at Jordan as the GOAT for these reasons, or the GOAT criteria is this. And everybody's got different GOAT criteria. Now, Moss says statistics shouldn't overshadow the raw talent, the true greatness of who he was on the field. Moss was great. Okay. But I think if Randy Moss played with Joe Montana, I don't think he gets the kind of balls that he usually would get with a Culpepper, a Cunningham, those deep depth type of throws. Would you say Moss is nicer with the route tree than Jerry in terms of feet?
That's some bit Jerry precise on them routes.
Jerry run them routes.
Precise on them routes. Now.
Moss is good
on the routes too. I ain't gonna show
on the routes too. But I guess I'm saying I didn't see enough. I didn't see more of that in Moss's career because Moss just had burners. And when you got burners, you got burners. That just is what it is. And when you got guys like Culpepper, Cunningham, chunking that thing to you, Brady, okay, cool. But here's where I'm at with it. Like, Randy talking his talk, but Larry Fitzgerald is second behind Jerry in yards and receptions. Moss is 15th in receptions.
Where is he in yardage?
He is 5th. He's in the top 10. I believe he's 5th.
So he more one of those yards per catch guy because of all them deep balls and shit.
Yak. He's a yak guy. And that's fine. I mean,
that's Jerry's specialty there, yak. Jerry will take that goddamn slant and run that bitch to the house on your ass.
He would. Now, Moss is 4th. T.O. is 3rd. I'm sorry. T.O.'s 3rd. Moss is 4th. Larry Fitzgerald is 2nd behind Rice.
Now, to be devil's advocate here, not calling him a devil, of course, but Randy would say, don't you chop that up to longevity then for both of them? That they simply played longer, that his peak, I'm sure he would say his peak was better. Like his dominance at his peak was better than both of those. Moss would probably say that my peak and my physical peak and prime, I could do more things than Jerry and Larry Fitzgerald can do. That's probably what he would say, I'm assuming.
But then okay, I would have to argue, well, okay, Moss, you had the kind of physical gifts that those guys didn't have. Those guys, in my mind, worked harder, had to work harder at their craft. I'm not gonna say they worked harder than Moss. I'm just gonna say they had to work harder at the craft because they didn't have all those physical gifts. Now, I think Fitzgerald is a much more athletic receiver than Rice. And that's based upon what I saw when that brother was at Pittsburgh and they were touting him for the Heisman and all that. And that dude was just catching anything and everything. That dude was phenomenal at Pittsburgh before he came out. Then, I mean, you saw it last week against the Eagles. And that catch he got from Kyler, the reception, the touchdown he caught from Kyler. Man, that's concentration. That's body control. That's the man at 37 years old, I think is Larry.
So T, are you making even more news and saying to me right now that you slick think Larry ass is better than Randy?
I think so.
That's a big statement, T.
I think
That's
so.
a big fucking statement.
I think so. I think Larry's better than Randy.
What is it for you about Larry? Is his discipline or his hands?
It's the hands. It's the work ethic. It's the it's just that damn Iron Man, like that damn sawmill ass mentality where I gotta get it every day. This is my craft. This is my work ethic. This is me saying I'm putting that work in, and nobody's gonna outwork me. Now, no matter how it falls out in terms of yards, receptions, touchdowns, whatever, nobody's gonna outwork me. But truthfully, everybody knows when you put the work in, the results show. And right now, I got a man that is second in yards, second in receptions all time. He does. And if you want to put him and Moss on the same playing field and want to talk whatever, Moss don't have no titles. Fitzgerald don't have no titles.
Who's had the better QBs out of those two, in your opinion? So Larry
had Warner. He had Kurt.
That's probably the best guy he had out there. Or he had
Carson Palmer. But
the best two up until right now with Kyler. Okay.
Yeah.
So all right.
But Moss had Brady, the arguable GOAT. He had Culpepper. He had Cunningham.
Okay.
I can't remember what he had at the Raiders, but that I don't even count the Raiders. That's lost times.
Do you hold the Raiders against Randy because he basically said "fuck y'all" out there? And is that where he said I play when I want? Or he had been saying that shit?
Man, I think that dude been saying that. And see, that's the thing about Randy. Is the physical gifts. Luckily, they didn't. His attitude didn't get him put in a bind with the league because he was so physically gifted. Like, look, you got to have him. Like, because he was tame at New England. When he went to New England, all he did was go run the route, and the ball was going to be there.
Well, how the hell he ended up with y'all? How did that marriage end out there?
Now that I don't know, because kind of at that point,
years with y'all, he was with y'all when Cap led y'all to the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because I remember going for y'all for that reason. I wanted y'all to win so Randy could get a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I want to say
he was on that team.
He was there. I want to say he was on that team.
He wasn't a major cog, but he was on that team.
Yeah, he was on that team. But at that point, I think it was just like, all right, well, the work. Are we done? Like is the work gonna continue? Because remember, he come out. Moss was in like 20 when he came out.
In the draft?
Out of Marshall. I mean, he was super young. He was like a sophomore or something, wasn't he?
Oh, you talking about the age?
The age. Like, he was super young.
I'm not sure. I know he had some shit that happened. You know what I'm saying? Because he was supposed to go with like Notre Dame or Florida State or he supposed to go to one of them, ooh-wee schools and ended up at Marshall in West Virginia.
Which is where he's from.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But You
He got
know,
a good 30 for 30 out there about him and his upbringing and shit.
and his trouble, and he had some troubles and stuff. So that's why he kind of slid in the draft. But I mean, you couldn't deny this talent. But like I said, I ain't mad at him for saying he's the GOAT. I mean, the dude was in terms of dominance. If I had to be honest, in terms of dominance, I would say him and T.O. were probably the two most dominant I ever seen. And when I'm saying that in terms of just physical gifts, ability, etc., I think those are probably the two most dominant I ever seen.
Would you say that though? Would you chalk that up as another instance of us being too young? If we go by when we were born, yes, we were born early enough to see Jerry Rice play. But we going by for real, we was babies. We know what the fuck we were watching.
No, we did.
You know what I'm saying? And I think we missed out on his dominant, like 80s and early 90s Jerry. They telling me that Jerry,
He was a workhorse. He was
that motherfucker go get you 200 yards though. That's what I'm talking about. When we talking about the dominance though, like he'll go fuck up a Super Bowl on your ass by himself.
He would.
Like you know what I'm saying?
He would.
So and me personally, I'm just speaking for me. I haven't seen none of them games. I can kind of remember. I remember vividly when he broke the record.
Mm-hmm.
But that's that later on. That was shit. Who throwing him the ball at that point? Steve or Jeff Garcia? I remember that Jerry.
Yeah.
I ain't never seen the 80s Jerry that they say was.
I mean, of what I've seen when it came to when they just Super Bowl highlights and different highlights and stuff they've showed.
Oh yeah, I
all
seen
the NFL films and stuff.
Yeah.
He was a boy. He was tough. I mean that's just what it is. But I think I understand why Randy would say that. I ain't knocking him, but man, guys like Larry and Jerry and T.O., them guys, man, like have a case. I mean, and that's just the way it's gonna be for end of time, man. I mean, like we would sit here and tell some of these youngins, our kids, whatever, how great those guys were that we're talking about, but yet they could throw DK at our face and Julio and Tyreek and
where you got Calvin? Does Calvin have a reason to enter the chat on these motherfuckers?
He does. He does, because the Lions franchise is the only franchise in the league that has you could argue the GOAT running back, one of the most dominant running backs ever. You could argue the Detroit Lions have the two guys that you feel sorry for the talent that is wasted in terms of Barry and Calvin. You could say, man, I feel sorry for them guys being there, because Calvin, I mean, man, what you gonna say about Calvin?
He a bad motherfucker.
There's nothing. He's fast, strong. I mean, he was everything that you see today in DK, but just I think a better route runner, just a better receiver at the craft at this point, And in DK it's early, but that's what you saw. What you see in DK is what you saw in Megatron.
That motherfucker damn near had 2,000 yards in a season as a receiver,
and it was too easy.
The motherfucker going.
It was too
I know. As a Packer fan, I had to see that motherfucker. We could not stop him.
It was too easy
at all.
It was just too easy.
Now I'm looking at the all-time yards per game leaders at receiver. Because when you get into just the yards, you start to get into the who played long and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Which I think that's important because we're talking violence.
Right. Yeah.
We're talking who can sustain a career in the midst of this violence.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So I can't knock Jerry for that. The only thing that I be saying, maybe pump the brakes on Jerry on, is that he did have them two legends, two incredible quarterbacks. And that's very fortunate. The fact that y'all had won a Super Bowl before he even stepped in there, okay?
Right.
Y'all had won a Super Bowl without Jerry, if I'm not mistaken, right? before he even got there.
Yeah, I believe so.
That's very fortunate. Okay. But other than that, I'm not gonna knock him for his stats, accumulating his stats in terms of his longevity. That means this motherfucker was able to take care of his body in the midst of this violence. Okay. Mm-hmm. But this is interesting too. Looking at the yards per game, and you see a lot more young boys in here. And we could probably chalk that up into how the game is played now. How you got what? Joe Burrow had games of throwing that bitch 50 times this year as a fucking rookie. We never saw that shit growing up.
No.
We never saw that shit. But on this list, you got Julio Jones, number 1 at 95.5 yards a game. Calvin Johnson is number 2 at 86 yards a game. Michael Thomas at 3 at 85 a game. AB at 4 at 84.5 a game. Odell at 83 a game at 5. DeAndre at 80 a game is at 6. Torrey Holt at 77 yards a game is at 7. Mike Evans, 77.3 yards a game at 8. Marvin Harrison, 76.7 at 9. And Jerry Rice is all the way down at number 10 at 75.6 a game. However, I didn't come across Moss nor T.O. right there. T.O. is down here at 17 at 72.8 yards per game. Shit, I had to dig a little deeper and see where the fuck Moss is down at 23, dog. At 70 yards a game.
I said he had 15 catches, man. He had
70 yards a game,
all time, man. He was 15 catches all time. So,
like, you wouldn't think that though. You would think that he had more yards per game than that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know, he took a year off in Oakland, and then, you know, you had the whole San Francisco thing where he was on the field, but he wasn't that guy, you know, and he was there at the Super Bowl too against the Ravens and stuff, you know, but I mean, I think it was just some pit stops he had in his career that, you know, we got to take account for. So, I mean, I appreciate it. I appreciate the fact that he's calling himself the GOAT. There's nothing wrong with that. I love hearing the brother on Monday nights. Cool. If he wants to think Jerry's third or fourth, okay, fine. Because I get it. You want to make your point that, look, stats are overrated. Because that's kind of what Randy was saying.
I bet you he ain't saying that record he had set in 07 ain't overrated, I bet.
With the
when he broke Jerry's single season touchdown record.
Oh, yeah.
But needed more games.
Yeah.
That was 16 games. I think Jerry did that shit in like a strike season or some kind of shit. Some weird. You know, but Andre Rison held that against Jerry. He was like, look, you did that against strike guys. These boys coming at Jerry, man. I don't know. Maybe he not. They coming at Jerry in a way that I don't see folks come at Jim Brown. I don't see folks come at Jim Brown like that.
Right.
Like they revere Jim Brown. What they say when at the Hall of Fame dinner, that motherfucker walk in, they stand up.
They got to stand up when it comes to Jim. Yeah. Well, Jim's special.
But some folks call Jerry the greatest player, period, of all time. But it seems like these boys get on these podcasts, man, and feeling
that's what they do, man. Good when they bring these into play and some tequila and whatever else they be on, that wine, you can get them to say anything. And I mean, let's just be honest. That's just a way to get the interview to be more juicy and more. Come on, I mean, let's be honest.
They getting them more relaxed up in their teeth.
More nice and relaxed and sauced up. Look. If they want to pull your tooth, they gotta give you some Novocaine. So get you some wine and feel good.
Right.
That's what we do.
Well, America, we'd love to see what y'all got. Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, T.O., and all these other motherfuckers in the GOAT talk for wide receivers.
Go. Subscribe to our daddy's YouTube channel. He's the best. Hit the like button, turn on the notifications.